take, Keith? Okay, so I'll jump back to, we're doing quality of business index. What is quality of business index? QBI equals taken rate times persistency rate. Taken rate is percentage of policies submitted with money that actually get issued. And then what is persistency? Persistency is the percentage of issued policies that you have, right, whose premium has been paid for 13 consecutive months. That means that that client did their part and paid that policy for the 13 consecutive months. And now, granted, clients obviously go ahead to pay their policies for much longer than 13 months, right? We have term policies, people are paying these things for years. But what the company is looking at when it comes to persistency is how many of them basically on the front half of that policy paid for 13 consecutive months, right? And so you take that taken rate and you multiply it by that persistency, and that's how you get what you call your QBI, or your quality of business index. And so what does QBI actually tell you? A QBI above 80% says you have a healthy business, right? It's people are going to be people. 100% is not really necessarily realistic, but 80% or above says that you have a healthy index, a healthy business when you look at that index. But quality of business is a mindset. Having a healthy business and running that healthy business is a mindset. That's something that you have to be focused on. Quality of business is stewardship. It's good stewardship, right? And so, you know, just like the Bible says in Matthew 25:23, it says, his Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord, right? Stewardship is super important when it comes to this business, and being able to really do this in a healthy way, making sure that we're not just, whether it's, you know, trying to win contests or trying to get promotions, we're not doing things right, cutting corners or doing things the wrong way, that we're doing them in a healthy way, being good stewards over our business, keeping the mindset that we're trying to do what's right for people, and not making sure we keep the people first, right? And so I like this one too. It says, you can't run your business like a freelancer and expect results like a CEO. We're trying to boss up in this business, in this base shop, in this hierarchy, right? And we're trying to make sure that we run our business like a business. All right, so let's talk about it. So let's go to just from scratch. What does this mean? So when you put a life app in Turbo Apps, right, with the money, so I mean, it's not COD, right? Two things happen. What are those two very important things that happen? The first thing is you receive an advance commission from the company. The company says, you've completed this, you've submitted this policy. Now I'm going to advance you part of your commission. And then the other part is, hey, you've submitted this life application. Now home office says, we got to underwrite this thing and see if we can actually issue a policy, right? So let's go first through part one. What does that mean? So that means that after you hit that submit button, it's not an okay, see you later type time, right? People think, oh, okay, that's it. I've submitted this thing. Oh, it was hard enough to get the appointment. They actually, you know, came and stayed there. I'm done. You know, put your hands up. But no, there's so much more that happens. It is super important for us to understand the steps that happen, so that we can do the right thing, right? And so that we're staying on top of it to do the right thing. So what I want to do first, you guys, is I want to go into what advance commission is and how it's calculated. And I'm going to do an example of that, right? Okay, so this is going to be our example that we use, right? A Primerica agent sits down with a married couple. The married couple, they put their Roth IRAs in place and they go ahead and get life insurance. And now their life insurance is $100 per month, right? And so let's calculate the total commission. Let's calculate the advance commission. Now, for the purpose of this example, we're going to assume that this agent is on a 50% contract, that this agent is a district leader on a 50% contract, right? So what does that look like? What does that advance commission and what that total commission look like on this $100 per month life policy, right? So for most of us, we know that when we talk policies and we talk premium, we don't talk monthly premium. We literally talk annual premium, right? So anytime you see when we're doing announcements or when we're talking, what you need for promotions and all that stuff, all of that is based off of annual premium. And so how do we calculate annual premium? We take that monthly premium that we talk to the client about, we multiply it by 12, and that tells you your annual premium. So this district leader just submitted an app and they winded up doing $1,200 in annual premium, right? And so now we're getting into the commission side of things. So what happens next? The company takes a $65 policy fee out, and then commission is paid on the rest of that annual premium. So what does that look like? This agent, they're on a 50% contract. So we take that $1,200 minus $65, that $1,135. We multiply it by 50%, and then what do we get? We get $567.50. And so that amount, that $567.50, is what we call the total commission. So that is the district leader's total commission for this $100 life app. All right, so what does the company then do? The company then says, I'm going to advance you, right? I'm not going to give you everything. I'm going to advance you 75% of that commission. Mind you, at this point, the client has only done what? The client's only put down 1 month premium, but the company says, I'm going to give you 75% of that money. And so what you see hit your bank account as a district leader, what this district leader sees is $425.63 hit their bank account, right? And so that is what's called the advance commission. You get that premium, you'll see that email come to you, you'll see that commission come in about 48 to 72 hours into your bank account. Now, if you are on here and you do not already have your, this is sidebar, I'm doing sidebar, right? If you are on here and you do not have your direct deposit set up already, go ahead and make a note to yourself that you need to get your direct deposit set up, because the last thing you want to do is have this commission check sent to the office. Now you're waiting on Nick and Rahima, multiple months down the line to get you your check. So go ahead and have your direct deposit set up. But with this, you have your advance commission, right? That 75%. And then what does that mean? So the company says, the advance commissions is the company advancing you the money. And what they're doing is that 75% is the first 9 months, right? 9 months out of 12 months is 75%. So what the company in turn is doing is they give you that 9 months up front, and then the 10th, 11th, and 12th month get paid what we call as earned, or earns. Those are your earns. So you get paid a commission in the 10th month, 11th month, and 12th month, as long as the client is still paying that policy, right? So, but advance commission is like a loan, right? We just said it. We said the client only paid 1 month, the company advanced you 9 months. And so that's pretty much the company saying, I'm giving you a loan on the good faith that you have done your due diligence, and this, that this client will pay the rest of this money, right? And as the client pays their insurance every month, they are paying off the agent's advance commission loan, right? And so if the client's policy lapses, right, if the bank account gets messed up or something happens, then the money's not in their account, whatever that happens, if the client's policy lapses, meaning it goes more than 60 days without any payments coming in-house, right, within that first 9 months, the agent will receive what we call a chargeback. And we got 1,000 different colloquialisms, and people call them the Charlie Browns, they call them the CBs, they call them a lot of different things, but it's a chargeback that gets paid, moved forward to you, gets applied to you for the remaining commission that that you were paid, that is different than what the client pays. So let's go into that calculation, right? So let's say we have the same scenario, same district leader, same premium, right? They were given, the district leader got that $425.63, right? And then the client fails to pay their premium, and the policy lapses after 6 months, right? So they have 6 months of payments in, but what does that mean, right? What does that mean for the agent? So what we take is we say that 425.63 that you were paid, if we divide that by, what was it, the 9 months that you were advanced, that's 47.29 per month, right? So remember, 6 of those months have been paid, 3 of those months have not been paid. And so the company is looking to recoup the 3 months that have not been paid, right? They're looking to charge that back. And so you take that 429, the negative 429, you multiply it by those 3 months. And so your chargeback that you get issued is for $141.87. So what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? What does the charge mean? It means the agent now has what we call a debit balance that needs to be repaid to the company. And the company can take the money pretty much, or the debit balance can get paid pretty much 2 ways. They can either take it out of a new policy that you do, right? So if you do a new policy, when they go to do the calculation for the advance, they're going to first take back the chargeback money because you have a negative debit balance, or you can directly pay the company, and the company has the payment line where you can directly pay them that debit balance back. Most people allow for I mean, because you're actively doing business, right? So if it comes out of your next commission check, then you understand that calculation, right? But obviously, we want to pay attention to who we're sitting down with. And so the major key, this is the note, this is the thing to note, right? Every life insurance policy you write is like co-signing a loan for your client, right? So what does that mean? That you are saying, I trust and expect this client to do what they say they're going to do, right? So you want to make sure that that your clients have the right mentality when it comes to life insurance, that they understand it's important, that it's something that they actually want, right? And that they have the ability to pay their premiums. Because when you sit down and you're doing that financial needs analysis, you're asking them questions and you're getting a feel for, okay, who is this person? What is their financial situation? You don't want to be in a situation where you're begging people to get life insurance, or you're trying to convince them to get life insurance, right? You want to make sure that they have the right mindset and the right mentality, and they want it and are willing to pay, right? Now, obviously, that's easier said than done, but the beauty of it is that should be the case the majority of the time, right? You can't the thing, I'm sure Nick talks about all this all the time. Certain things you can only control what you can control, right? And certain things you can't overcome. And one of the major things is you can't overcome a lie. You can't overcome people changing their mind. But that should be on the low end of what happens to you. On the high end of what happens in your business is you have people who want this insurance and who are willing to pay for it, right? So keep that major key in mind, that you are co-signing the loan. All right, so that was the advanced commission side. Hopefully everybody understands those calculations, wrote those calculations down. No, now we're talking about our drug. We talk of advance, right? We talk premium. When we say premium, we mean annual premium. We talk earns, right? These are just Primerica language that we use, okay, on that side of the business. So let me go into the other side of what happens when you submit a life app, and that's the life app going into a home office to go into underwriting. All right. So here's the deal, y'all. Here's the deal. The number one goal when we submit a life app and it goes into underwriting is to get the policy, every single policy, issued within 30 days or less. We don't want anything sitting in our life manager within 30 days or less. And we want to be in there putting in the effort to make sure everything gets in and out of our underwriting within 30 days or less. And now, the beauty of how the policies work today is you can get stuff instant issued, right? So it's in and out, no problem, right? Or the systems are in place from Primerica's side to be able to help you do that, right? But sometimes you run into some things. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things that we run into. So how do you get to Life Manager, right? My POL, all apps for business and client management is how you get there. There's so much there are so many important links on this page. I'm going to hone in right now today on Life Manager. Right. So what happens inside your Life Manager? First thing I tell anybody, especially if you have any person under you in the business, you want to look at base shop. You want to change your view to base shop. Now, if you know it's just you, the personal view is fine. But if you have any agents that are on your team and under you, you want to change it to base shop. And so it's a couple things to point out. You have policy numbers here. Clients' names would be here in this area. Obviously, we marked out the clients' names. You have the all this is the pending status. You have it's going to be your name as underwriting rep. And then what I tell people to agents to do if they haven't done it already is to sort this column from the highest number down to the lowest number, because it helps you understand how you should be working this and what's the high the priority. You see, so this is old, you guys. We pulled this from a long time ago, so we weren't out here telling and showing people's business. But you see that from a regional vice president standpoint, the life manager can get very busy, right? And so it's extremely important that each agent is inside of their life manager managing their life manager, right? And so let's talk a little bit about some of the details here. So since we're talking for this training about underwriting, you want to go into your underwriting section, and you'll see that the way the company kind of chops it up is in a couple different ways, right? From it's been pending less than 30 days. That's what you want most stuff to be, right? So days pending, pending greater than 30 days, pending greater than 60 days. A chargeback is a coming, right? That's the whole category, that a chargeback is headed your way. Chargeback coming in less than 30 days, and then closing less than 30 days. A lot of times means that the chargeback has already hit you because some kind of something didn't happen that needed to happen, and it's been sitting in LifeMint. It's exceeded the amount of time allowable to get the information in house, right? So those are the different ways you can look at underwriting. I say look at all statuses, sort it from highest to lowest, and working from there. I personally don't even get into all these things, but if you're just getting started, it helps to see how the company categorizes things. Okay, so what are we focused on when we get in here? Now, if you click pending, it'll allow you to see the details of what's happening with your client in underwriting. And it pops up a different window, right? And it's going to give you details. It's going into, you have status detail, you have details about the client, the product, you as the rep, and more. But what is it? Let's see what kind of things wind up here and what it's telling you, right? So this right here, you see these highlighted items. Now, in our base shop, we use Exam One. Exam One does our telewriting. Exam One does our paramedics, right? And so you'll see all the things that are outstanding because they're highlighted, right? So click a highlighted link. And depending on what it is, it's either going to take you to the Exam One window, because Exam One is a third party and they have their own tracking system that they allow us to see, right? Or it's going to take you to the eNOA window. And eNOA is focused on getting the medical records, right? Sometimes you'll see, and it's not in this example, but you'll see it'll say APS. APS is an acronym for an attending physician statement. Attending physician statement is just medical records, and that's what eNOA does. eNOA does the attending physician statement, right? So that's important on this page. And then, y'all, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, I'll highly likely text you about update your notes, update your notes, update your notes. It is super important that you put notes in the system to document all communication with your client, with home office, and with any of the third parties, Exam One, eNOA, right? It's super important that you update your notes. You cannot have too many notes when the client is going through the underwriting process, right? Okay, so if you are not adding notes, that makes your leadership, your upline, your RVP, your SVP, believe that you are not watching your business. And y'all, we can't have that. We cannot have that. We need you to in the game, watching your business, tracking what's in your life manager, right? All right, so let's go down and talk about underwriting in a little bit more detail, right? So what can slow down the underwriting process, right? What are we fighting against when we're trying to get stuff through this process in less than 30 days, right? So let's talk. So we're going to go one at a time. Underwriting needs a client's medical record, which is the attending physician statement, the APS, and it'll say APS in underwriting. So a lot of times what slows things down is that the client needs to sign a medical records release form, or and what you'll do is you'll find that medical records release form. A lot of times the company will send it to your Primerica email account. That's where that will be. You'll need to go into your Primerica email account to get that medical records release form, right? Or some company or some medical records places just have really slow processes, right? So I saw somebody's, I can't remember whose it is, but there's somebody's in there right now that literally had on there, it takes 20 business days, right? So that's, we can't control that, right? But it slows the process down like you cannot believe. But as long as eNOA has it in their notes, as long as eNOA knows it, as long as Primerica knows it, it helps keep it from going not taken or going or leaving the system, right? But what else can slow things down? Another thing that can slow things down is that the doctor's office is just not cooperating, right? They're not answering the phone. Their medical records thing is having eNOA jump from thing to thing to thing. It's not clear how to get the records. And so in that case, it's super important that we as the agents help the client help the process, right? And so what does that mean? That means that the client needs to download or pick up medical records. And I say download because most people have a MyChart system, health, what Athena. I got 1,000 of them on my own phone, right, with my own family. But most people have some kind of electronic system that's keeping medical records, and so the client can help the process. Download that information, send it to you, and then you send it on to underwriting. So it's imperative for us to make sure that we get those medical records, that things are moving in the medical record process, right? And I'll promise you, medical record release forms are some of the things that are the slowest because now you've turned it. Now you didn't know where to get the form. You didn't check your Primerica email, and then you're waiting for your client. Sometimes you got to go and just take it to the client and have them sign it, like print it out and have the client sign it yourself, right? So you can fax it back into eNOA. But that is something that we want to be totally a part of the process and driving that process to make sure those things get closed out quickly. And then once we do it, we're putting the notes, or once we get it, once we do it, we're putting our notes inside of our life manager to make sure everybody from, you to me, to your RVP, to whoever your upline knows where things are in the process. All right, so what else? What else slows down the process? The client needs to complete their underwriting interview. Now, it goes smoothly a lot of the time, but every so often you have a client that they're just exam one is having a terrible time getting in contact with them. But because they're your client, you don't have that tough time, right? And so the client's not answering the phone. And so in those cases, what helps? What helps is you doing a three-way call, you getting the client on the phone, and then you calling exam one so that you can steward the process of that telewriting interview happening. You doing the linking the two entities that need to talk. Sometimes the client will start and a telewriting interview, and they were in the middle of something, they weren't able to finish. At the end of the day, we clients respond best to us, right? And so we want to make that happen. And so doing three-way calls becomes the answer to a lot of problems that we have because clients trust us and clients are not will pick up the phone when we call, right? Another thing that slows down the process, the client not completing their paramed. Now remember, paramed will come to your house, right? Paramed will come to your job, or a paramed will have a facility that's close by you, right? So from that standpoint, things should really go smoothly. But sometimes, again, the client's not answering the phone to get things set up. The client had an appointment but missed an appointment. The client had an appointment, but when exam one went to confirm the appointment, the client reschedules the appointment. Whatever the case may be, it's still up to us to not just let everything go on autopilot, right? It's still up to us to jump in there and really try to help and save and move the process along. And that a lot of times that's doing the three-way call to get the paramed scheduled, right? Or doing a three-way call to get the paramed rescheduled, or You can do it online now, right? You can schedule pyramids online. There's an online system. And so working with the client, whether it's getting them on Zoom or phone or whatever it is, to get that thing rescheduled and making sure that they're picking a day and time that they can stick to, right? And then the last thing that slows underwriting down, and I over this last month, like September to October, I've seen a lot more of these in our base shop, is replying to agent memos, making sure that we are timely. And what that usually requires is for us to get additional information from the client, right? And then provide it back through the agent memo. So we have to be diligent in checking our life manager to make sure that we are replying to those agent memos in a timely fashion to get the client through underwriting. All right. All right. So this is when we talked about taken rate from the beginning. These are the things we call them NTOs, which are called not takens. These are these, and they affect that rate, that index, right? So what are four types of not takens? You have declined transactions where your client had bad health, they had poor driving record, they may have had a criminal background that you did not know about, right? They had they're involved in something extreme, or just the client just did not tell the truth and the company found out, right? The company is checking the your prescription database. They got two different databases that they check. They're coming to do impairments. The company is doing their due diligence, right? And so you got to make sure also you're telling the client that on like just tell me the truth, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, declines do happen. And so if a client submitted their application with money and got declined, then that is considered a not taken and it goes against your taken rate, right? So declined transactions are NTOs. Withdrawn transactions are NTOs, right? So the client started the process, and then during the underwriting process, they decided to change their mind, right? Or once underwriting came back, and maybe they got rated or something, they decided to change their mind. And so they decided to change their mind. They decided, again, this is if money was taken with the app, they decided to cancel their policy. That goes against your taken rate. NTO paid transactions, which is really not paid. Okay. So what does that mean? It means the policy is in underwriting or it's showing as issued with requirements, but the client's first month premium did not go through. When they submitted that app with the money, it came up insufficient funds, or it came up some other whatever, where the Primerica does not get the money. So that now is called an NTO paid transaction, and it goes against your taken rate, right? That's considered an NTO. Now, granted, let me say for that, you can always go back to the client and get the money, right? It doesn't have to stay that way. But if you're not able to get that premium payment in, then that's considered a NTO. Or these are the main things, right? Or the last one is the life insurance application and underwriting closes incomplete, right? The pyramid did not get done in a timely fashion. The underwriting interview did not get done in a timely fashion. We never received the client's medical records in a timely fashion, and so that's considered, because things are outstanding that never got taken care of. Those are considered closed incomplete. And it'll say that inside of Life Manager, it'll say closed incomplete. And that goes against your taken rate. Okay, so remember what the number one goal is, right? The number one goal is to get every policy issued within 30 days or less. And we have to be diligent and good stewards of making sure that happens. All right, so now I'm going to go into issued real quick. So we're back in Life Manager. We're we switch our view to issued. There are two different views that you could do: issued as requested, issued with requirements. At this stage, everybody should be able to do issued all statuses and be fine, right? But what is it telling us inside of issued? It says issued as requested. Issued as requested means that everything is perfectly fine. There are no requirements. The policy has been issued to the client. because we do everything Turbo app now, they've sent some kind of email or something to the client letting them know it's issued, but we still have one more step, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it just means that it's perfectly fine. Policies enforced. It's set up on automatic payment. Boom, we're good to go, right? But issue with requirements. Issue with requirements means that, okay, the policy is issued, however, there is an amendment or a money requirement, or there's something else needed to put that policy in force, right? So for us, a lot of times our issue with requirements are the policies that we submit COD, right? Because there was no money taken with the policy. But sometimes there are amendments that need to get signed with it, right? If a person gets rated or something like that. And so then it's up to us to go back to the client to get what's missing or what's needed. So what happens when you see a policy issued as requested, right? You want to schedule a time with the client to do a policy review. You want to meet with the client over and do just a quick snapshot. And the last two are the most important pieces, you guys. The last two, when a policy is issued, and why you want to go back and sit down with the client, is because you want them to get that My Primerica app. The app and online or the website are exactly the same, but you want them to download that. It is going to be so much easier for you in the long term if your client has that My Primerica app. The part two of this training is me talking about that piece of it, but you want them to do that from jump. It allows them to see their policy, right? See who's covered, see by how much, but it's the app gives more. If they have investments with you, it's giving them it's showing you their investments and what their balances are in that app, right? And it's giving them a debt elimination tool inside that app. So if you yourself do not have the My Primerica app, or you haven't registered with the client side of Primerica, I strongly suggest you do it, because that app is super helpful. And it's a real good tool for any kind of policy management you have to do to help clients if things, get out of whack. If they want to, they got it now. You can reinstate your own policy on the app, which is amazing, incredible. And you can use it for your annual reviews with the client. It's just so much good stuff. So you want to have the My Primerica app, and you want your clients to, right? So you want to do that once their policy is issued, and then super important, probably the number one thing is you want to get those emergency contacts and beneficiary contacts, right? Because those then become your referrals too, right? So you want to have those certificates on hand for the client, but you also want to use it as an opportunity to get that information, because those people then turn into also referrals, right? All right, so let me quickly talk about issued with requirements. So what does it mean? So what do you need to do as the agent, right? Policy delivery requirements will be a couple of things: MRN form, back-end change form, policy amendment, basic illustration form, delivery receipt. Now, MRM form and back-end change form are the field trainer that's working with you is going to help you understand which of those forms you actually need, right? But Primerica gives you policy amendments, gives you basic illustrations, and it gives you delivery receipts inside of Life Manager, right? And then they use a DocuSign process for getting those things signed. And so you're trying to, if it's issue requirements, you're trying to get some kind of amendment signed, you're trying to get some kind of money with the policy, so that the policy can then be moved from just issue to enforce, right? And they've made it so easy now because they use DocuSign inside the process. But whatever it is, you want to make sure this is done, and these things are taken care of in a within 7 days of the policy being issued. Once it shows up in your Life Manager as issue with requirements, you basically want to put yourself on the clock to get within 7 days to get back with that client and get all the requirements taken care of and sent back into Primerica, because it's still going to take a minute for Primerica to process it before that policy shows up as enforced, right? And then you still want to do once it's enforced, you still want to do the My Primerica app and to collect the emergency contacts and beneficiary contacts, right? But we're still in a stage until it gets fully enforced. We're still in a stage where we need to be updating our notes. So keeping those notes updated, keeping those notes fresh is super important, because at the end of the day, our goal is, right? We haven't understood our goal yet. Is to have every life insurance policy issued within 30 days or less, or as quickly as possible, and for it not to be lingering and moving slow because we were not diligent in getting things done, right? And so I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here with this, right? So what do you want to make sure that you do for this first part? Because I'm gonna do a second part later, but for this first part, I'm going to wrap this up here. So make sure what do you want to do? Best practices to increase your take-in rate, because everything that we talked about today is very much focused on your take-in rate, right? Reducing your NTOs. So check your life manager several times a week and make sure you're leaving notes for any active life policies in your life manager. You want to make sure you're replying promptly to agent memos, so they're not sitting out there for a long time, and you're going to leave notes about how you responded to that agent memo. You want to check your Primerica email for client medical record request forms. You want to make sure that you have eNOA on speed dial and Exam1 on speed dial, right? You want to contact eNOA directly for status on clients' APS and medical records if it is unclear what's happening, or if it looks like, because they take very good notes. The eNOA report is very good. They take very good notes. But if it's like unclear of what's happening, you're looking at, you're like, you know what? I probably need to jump in here and get the client's help, right? Or because their notes say they haven't been able to reach somebody, or their notes say no one answered, right? Their notes will say in detail what the situation is, and so you're like, I got to contact eNOA myself to see what they're seeing, what they're hearing, so I can then go work it and alongside with them, right? And then whenever necessary, you want to initiate a three-way call with your client for any telewriting or paramed delays, right? And so inside this life manager stage of this business, you want to make sure you leave notes, you leave notes, you leave notes. It's super important that you leave notes and also for your own record, right? So the other thing that happens is you get to a point where you're having a lot of, different clients, different life habits. Your business is blowing and going, and you're like, wait, was that this client or that client, right? So you want to make sure you're keeping the notes for yourself, so you know what conversations you have with what clients, right? And so with that, I'm going to end on this. Go ahead and you can screenshot this, take a picture of it, whatever the case may be. These are key phone numbers that you should have in your phone for Primerica New Business, for helping clients get connected with the telewriting underview, for getting Paramed set up with Exam1, both the 800 number, and then there's the dedicated line for the PA folks, right? The line, the phone number for eNOA, and then which is super important, and you'll need this for sure, is the Primerica client payment line. We'll talk about that more on the part 2 of this training. So with that, I'll just give you a sneak peek. Our next part of this training, we call it our Primerica morning paper, but it's going to be the persistency side of the business, right? This was the life manager, underwriting, not taken side of the business. And then the next part of this will be the morning paper, backside persistency side, to make sure that we can keep clients on the books. All right. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions, for any comments, for anybody before I jump into announcements. Any comments, anything anybody wants to highlight or
This was great.
Yes.
This is April. It was great. I didn't know where to go. I ain't gonna lie. I was just like, thank you, Lord, that the money gets in the account. I don't know anything else, but this is good. And I know that Nick was probably prompting me, but I didn't know where to go to see this. And so I appreciate this part of this training and look forward to the rest to navigate, because it is a lot of information on every screen. You don't know what you should be doing. And I know, I think it's Miss Jackie that talks about keeping up with her list, her CB. She uses some acronym that I'm sitting here like, where's mine? I don't know what that is, but I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yes. Awesome. Ooh.
You getting feedback on your device, Miss?
I was on 2 devices. Sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to say excellent training, and in reference to when you were talking about the chargebacks and the delays, I put in the chat. I actually have a client that's a vet, or for a veteran, and his medical records we over 60 or about 60 days. But when I called the company about it, well, I called Enoa, had a conversation, and they're going through that process that you described, calling, not getting responses, but they shared with me because of the government shutdown, they have less staff, so they're delayed that way. So what I did was I called Primerica New Business, and I asked the question, was there anything going to be done in reference to delays that are not the fault of anyone, but it's like a national issue? So when I spoke to New Business, they stated that they were having meetings about, extending or having some considerations around the issues with staffing and delays. So I just wanted to share that. And April, feel free to give me a buzz. I'll talk to you about CRM, client relationship management systems. It is awesome. I'll put get my number from Nick.
Okay,
I
thank
don't mind
you.
sharing it with you.
Thank you.
Miss Jackie,
Awesome training.
can you hear me?
Yeah, Alfreda,
Miss
we can
Jackie?
hear you.
Oh, I was talking to Miss Jackie and asked her, did her veteran have My Healthy Vet? Can she hear me?
Yeah, Miss Jackie, she's saying, does your veteran, your client have I guess is it a site or an app called My Healthy Vet?
It's a the site online where they can get their medical records electronically now. I think she may have gotten off, maybe.
She must have got kicked off, but that's helpful. That's super helpful, Alfreda. So
yeah, so the reason I know my husband's a veteran, so that's how we get his medical records now. So if he would go to My Healthy Vet, but I think it has to be now, you have to do the ID.me to set up the LA Gov, the government. It shows you exactly what he needs to do, and he can get all his medical records and pull them down.
Okay, thank you so much for that. This is why I love everybody kind of being able
And
to
it only
share
goes
info.
back about a year or two. So, because I have a client, we need to go back 5 years. And that's,
my husband went
so it
back.
kind of
It goes
depends.
back. Yeah, I guess it depends, but it goes back till the beginning of his disability. I think we go back as far as 2012.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it depends on how deep the records are and what all they need. But yeah, so it's helpful, I think, within a year, but it can get sketchy once you get outside that year, depending on what you can get access to on My Healthy Vet.
Okay. But it's good to know, right? So that we can at least talk to our clients about it and say, hey, does yours go back a year or does yours go back more than a year? Because you're right. For underwriting, they're going to need 5 years, right? Minimum. And so, but now that we know that exists, Ms. Jackie, thank you so much for even calling in. This is why you need regional leaders in your base shop. You know what I'm saying? Just people that just go and do all the things that need to get done. Thank you for calling and finding that out, because that is super important, right? This government shutdown is affecting us in more than one way. And it can affect our business. But that's good discussion. So that was great. Anybody have any other thing they want to make sure that that gets mentioned tonight?
My sound went out. I had to go out and come back in. I heard you all saying something about 12 years. Were y'all talking about VA records or were you talking about something else? I just heard the end of it.
Yeah, Alfreda was
VA
saying that they now have a system called My Healthy Vet, where
My
you can
Healthy Vet.
actually go download, where those veterans can go download their medical history. And Latrice was saying that sometimes it only takes them back a year. But Alfreda was saying her husband's went back further than that, so it just depends. So it's just helpful to have your client go ahead and check it and see what theirs does, and see if they can at least get the amount of the 5 years that the company's looking for.
Yeah, thank you for that. I actually had my client pull his records because I knew about the delay. And he could only go back to 2024. So he sent me everything that was in that portal. So when I called Enoa, they said, let's just wait. Don't send 1 year because they're going to want the 5. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Any other things to bring out? Just y'all don't forget the goal. Goal number 1 under
30
we're
days.
trying to get them issued to 30 days. That's right. 30 days. Yeah. And just showing each of us being diligent in the process, right? That's really what's important, is for us to be diligent and make sure that we're going in and we're not just letting stuff sit. But we're trying to help the process. That's the important part. Okay. Anything else before I jump into announcements? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into announcements. Let me share my screen. I'm trying to keep the announcements short and sweet tonight. All right, we are still, y'all, we are at the end of October. October is moving pretty fast, y'all, but we have a couple days. We got some, I know people have some goals that they're looking to meet. They have some things that they're looking to accomplish. So there is still time in the month to accomplish what you need to accomplish. You just have to put your foot on the gas to get it done, right? So really quickly, anyone that does 1 by 1,000 or 1 recruit by 10,000 in securities volume will get this Leaders Building Leaders Rally towel. So that's on the table. The field training bonus or the extra, I should call it, bonus for this month is by logging into Primerica as soon as you do your IBA, and you'll bank that extra $50 in your account. So any recruits that you bring in between now and the end of the month, make sure that you get them signed up onto the Primerica agent app, right? And then it is securities license renewal season. Hopefully you all have gone in there under license manager, my POL, all apps for business, monitor my team, license manager, to check your renewals, check your stage, check all the cost of everything is up, just so everybody's aware. Not the state by state, but the FINRA stuff, right? So just FYI, make sure you're aware of that. And those renewals have to be completed and paid by December 14th, but we usually try to take care of that stuff kind of October, November. So let's get that done, you guys. I'm going to keep the 2 things I'm going to keep reminding everybody about every single week at training is our 2027 International Convention. So we can keep our eyes on that prize. It is in Atlanta. It is at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Because I always think it's funny when on the things that I do every week, and then people don't be knowing the information. So, the other thing, Benicia mentioned at the outset of this meeting, you guys, we have this AALC Southwest Regional meeting coming up. Hopefully, you were on the call on Sunday. The call on Sunday was just electric. It was dynamite. So we want you to be at this event. But there's a couple things. So get your ticket, go ahead and get it now. Do not wait. Get your schedule cleared. If you are securities licensed and you will be here that Friday, there is a event specifically for securities licensed people. We want to make sure you get registered for that. If you are, and then for everybody else, we want you to be there on the 22nd, November 22nd for that. A thing that came up. So this is for all the new people. So what you'll notice is when we come together as a team, We'll either wear our Prove It shirts so you can see that we're a team, or we'll wear our ink shirts. And so Phoenicia is set to do a new order for ink t-shirts, right? So we can all show up to the regional meeting in our ink t-shirts. Yeah. Sorry, I did not. I don't even know. Let me see. Okay.